1051, I'm on scene. I'll be assuming Caroline Street Command. I got a 2.5-story wood-occupied multiple dwelling. I got heavy fire from the second floor, Charlie side. I have an exposure on the Delta side. We have one line stretch not in operation yet. Primary searches are underway. Status of the fire is doubtful. One passing command. I'm on the first line. Service speed advised. We're on scene. 2-story wood frame. I got heavy fire from the Alpha side.
Good afternoon, fans of the Volley Chief. I want to begin tonight's episode with a little bit of a heartfelt thank you from not just myself, but my family. As everyone's aware, last week, 2 weeks ago now, my canine partner, Poncho, we had to send them off. And I just want to thank everyone for the kind words, the notes, and the comments. Poncho was a great partner. And I'm sure wherever he is, he's happy, he's with his brothers, and he's doing good things. So thank you, everyone, for reaching out. I know that the goal of the Volley Chief is to hit all 50 states, but I obviously come close to home a lot. So tonight's guest actually was a classmate of mine back in my fire marshal class, which who would have thought that 11 years ago, this is where we'd be. But I'm going to allow him to introduce himself, and he comes from a really unique department, even in Connecticut. So we're going to go over some of that. So Frank, go right ahead, take it away.
Thanks, Chief. My name is Frank Novak. I am a firefighter in Long Hill. It's one of the 3 districts in the town of Trumbull, and I am currently serving as the president of the fire company. I've been in that role for going on about 20 years now. So I've been doing it for quite some time, in addition to firefighting and all the other things that come along with being a member of the volunteer department.
And when did you've been president for 20 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
So when did you join the volunteer fire department?
I joined in 1998. My stepfather was a member in Long Hill, had also been a member up in Monroe. So growing up, it was always part of the family, being either in the Monroe firehouse or being down Long Hill. So it was just part of the family. And once I had the chance at the age of 15, I jumped on it.
Excellent. And Frank, tell us about Trumbull, because you guys, I think, have a very unique, even in Connecticut, setup.
Yeah, so Trumbull is split into 3 fire departments, or 3 distinct fire districts. So Long Hill, Trumbull Center, and Nichols. We in Long Hill cover about 51% of the town. The districts are also a little bit different, right? So we're autonomous from the town. We are our own taxing district that is led by our fire commission, 5 commissioners who collect the taxes, set the mill rate. It's a little bit different than your typical municipal department.
Right, because you guys have a little bit more, I guess you'd say, flexibility or freedom from the town, correct? We do.
I mean, listen, we go through the same budgeting processes that the town goes through, but we are governed by the 5 commissioners, and I mean, it's easier to work with 5 than it is with a whole city or town government. So it is good for us. Our commissioners have always been super supportive with equipment and apparatus, firefighter safety. So we're very lucky in that aspect to have a history of good commissioners who are able to work with us.
What's the size of Trumbull, population and area?
So about 36,000 residents, and the town is roughly 24 square miles.
Okay, and unique features are you have a section of Route 8 come through town. You also have a section of the Mayor Parkway. It's you guys and accidents, extrications up on the highway. It's something that's totally normal for you, like it is for us here in Derby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then for those of you wondering where Trumbull is, its southern border is Bridgeport. And then it borders Shelton. It's one town in from the shore, if you will, and very, very close. You're 2 towns away from us here in Derby. So, but tell us a bit about we talk a lot about the line, if you will. So chiefs, company, captains, officers, lieutenants, but you're the other side of the volunteer organization as president. So tell us a little bit about that and what some of your duties are there.
So the fire company is governed by the board of directors, and then we have our line officers. So the line officers and the board both reside under the company. The company itself, right? We were formed in 1921, so we're just over 100 years now. And the job of president is to oversee the day-to-day business of the company, the operations of the company. So, the company does fundraising, right? So we're a tax exempt agency. So we do some fundraising. We have our own property. We do have our original firehouse in Trumbull, just nearby our Station 1, just off of Main Street, Upper Main Street. So we have our original firehouse, right? So we have utilities, we have bills to pay, so we do fundraising. But then, on top of that, it's, recruiting members, bringing members into the company, which I'm sure you can attest isn't as easy as it used to be. Even when I joined in '98, people were beating down the door, and it's not like that anymore. So we really have to put in work to bring those people in, to not only put people on the fire trucks so that the chief, can get his job done, but to bring people in to assist with the operations of the company and running the company.
Right. And see, it's something that's a lot different because you have different makeups, different departments. Some departments you'll have, a chief reporting to either a fire commissioner or commission, and they're setting a budget, but you're handling the business side. So like you mentioned, right? Like you're paying the cable bill. You're right. You're doing, I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing that business side of the company. And it's something that a lot of times, there's a couple things, right? Nobody, you can't just make someone the president, just like a fire chief. You gotta have a good head. You gotta understand the business side of it. You gotta, I think, integrity, trustworthy. I mean, how many times have we seen on the news that situation go bad?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, the treasurer, the secretary, the president, the vice president, all of them. And even when I took over 20 years ago, running the company back then is nothing like it is now. I mean, we've grown so much, and we have a social media presence now. I mean, who would have thought monthly we'd be reporting on our social media presence and how we're interacting with the public in that manner. Our biggest fundraiser of the year right now is in progress. It's our annual toy deliveries. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it, but we drive the decorated fire truck around town and we deliver gifts with Santa, and that's for donations to the company. That keeps us busy every night in December. So on top of, going to calls and answering, the calls for service that we signed up for, we're out there, at least 3, 4, 5 nights a week on a truck, trying to do deliveries and get donations. And
Right. And see that again, like something, putting my hat back on in Derby, like that was something that we didn't worry about as the Chiefs because the being a city department, the budgeting and all the money came right from the city. So it wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't something that we ever had to deal with. And even for trying to explain, to a paid guy about the business side of a volunteer firehouse, the best way that I could equate it is like it's the house fund, right? Like when I, in Bridgeport at headquarters, we had the house fund, and that bought the snacks, the cable, the newspaper, and it's like, well, try that, but like you said, you're setting budgets, you're doing a lot more, and it's all back end stuff. Nobody in the front of the house is going to see that.
yeah, I mean, listen, the chief has his responsibilities to the district, and so do I. And the chief's worried about making sure we have the right equipment and the right apparatus. And we're very grateful for our commission, that they always help us out with what we need. I mean, even to recruitment and retention, there's line items in their budget now that help us with recruitment and retention. But on the other side, we're still, like you said, we're still trying to keep the lights on and make sure the gas works in the building and all those things. So we have to continue doing the fundraising that we do a couple times a year.
And now your relationship with the chief, like what is your, because again, right, you have no line authority.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how does that work with I mean, I'm hoping everything is simpatico with the with the chief, but you could have that situation, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had in my tenure now, I've had 4 chiefs of the department. I'm very lucky right now. The chief who was elected last year happens to be one of my close friends that I went to school with and pretty much joined the department with and grown up with. So it's different this time around. I get to talk to him a lot and work with him on a lot of different projects and work together on a lot of things. And it's good for me, but it's also good for the department to have that kind of relationship with the chief.
Absolutely. Now, do you find it difficult So, when a call comes in, if you're in the firehouse, you hold a lot of weight. And then a call comes in and you kind of lose that. Do you find that difficult or?
Yeah, you're playing a fine line, right? Like everybody knows that I'm the president when I'm at the firehouse, but at the end of the day, I try to just be, at this point, I've been there for a long time, so I'm filling that senior man role, but I try to just be that senior man and give the best advice I can and help out where I can and go to the calls and when the call is over and we're back at the firehouse, then I'm back in the role of the president. But once that tone drops and we go out on the call, I'm doing what they need the firefighter to do.
Right. And I'm sure there are some times though, some incidents where you've got to do both.
Sure.
And I'm sure, like things like I'm assuming in my mind, like a long duration incident where you got to start paying for things or providing, food or services, then you're going to have to wear two hats at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's the good thing right now is that the chief and I work well together. So there's no like, this is mine, this is yours. It's like, hey, this has to get done. All right, are you going to do it? Yeah, I'll take care of it. All right, no problem. I could think of a specific incident. We had a firefighter injury a couple of years ago, and I was driving the rescue to the call for the firefighter that was injured. And as soon as I got there, it's tough to take that hat off. And one of the first things I was worried about was, has anybody contacted his family? Does his wife know that he's okay? Like, have we reached out at all? That's the kind of thing that it's tough for me to turn off because it's tough to get out of that mode.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think, but that's also just, as the leader of an organization, worrying about your people is your number one responsibility. So I
Absolutely.
yeah, I could easily see how that would be the difficult side of things. And explain though, just the district, right? Because it's not like, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not like Derby has the fire department. It's in the charter. It's a city agency. You guys are a special tax district, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the fire district is a special taxing district. They have their own charter, separate from the town. They set the mill rate. They collect taxes. They have a district tax collector who does all the collection of the taxes. So it's a town inside a town.
Correct. And the authority from that is a general statute, right? Like a state.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have. I'm trying to mutter it in my mind, but it's an action. It's a legislative action that gave
Correct.
you that.
I think if you look at the statute, we're classified as, I want to say, a sewer district or something along those lines. It's very unique. I know there's only a handful of them in the state.
Right, and that's the thing about the uniqueness. Where most either the fire department is either a completely independent entity of the town, but they have like in Summers, they have like a town agreement that the Summers Volunteer Fire Department provides volunteer firefighters. But that's that's the extent of the agreement with the town, is how far, and in Derby we have the city charter that says that there will be 4 fire companies. These are them. But you guys have your own like almost autonomy. You are like you're like almost like a city within a city.
Yeah, we are. And the fire company provides the manpower to the fire district. So similar to what I guess you would say Derby provides, the firefighters or the fire services to Derby, we do the same thing with the district. So,
but the district owns everything. So you guys own the apparatus, the gear is all district property.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the fire company owns is our old firehouse, which is our hall now where we have our meetings. But the 3 firehouses in our district, all the apparatus, all the gear, all the equipment, that's all owned by the fire district, the taxpayers.
Right, but it's not the town.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It is not.
So how do you think, the recruiting and retention battle is going? I guess unfortunately I'm like a Debbie Downer on this subject because I just don't. I don't think it's a battle we're going to win, right? We're prolonging the inevitable. It's just too much regulation, too much commitment, and too much time now for a person to volunteer. So what do you think is going to be? I guess I'd say, do you agree with me, or do you think? What are your thoughts?
So I do see the decline, right? I mean, when I came in '98, it was different, right? What year did you join the service?
I came in '94, and
Okay.
like you said, the night that I was getting voted in, I had to drive around to a couple of the older members' houses with resignation letters to get them to sign the resignation letter to go honorary so that I could get in, right? And there was 75 spots in the company, and we couldn't get in.
Yeah, so when I joined in '98, everybody was joining. I mean, a bunch of my friends from high school joined. Then friends of their friends of their friends. I mean, it just kept going and going, and a lot of people were coming in back then. And now, to your point, right? It's a decline. It's a slow decline, and I think we, at least in Long Hill, are trying to do everything we can to, prolong it as best as we can. I think you have to be creative, and you got to think outside the box. To especially in our town, we've changed so much. Our demographic has changed so much that we just can't expect folks from Long Hill to join Long Hill anymore. And we've reached out beyond our borders. We do take a lot of folks from the north end of Bridgeport, and we've had a lot of success with that. We've started a college live-in program. When we kicked that off is when we opened our new firehouse on Main Street. It kicked off well, but we've seen a decline in that too. And, we're still trying to get that back on its feet. But it's hard, you have to shake a lot of trees. You can't just sit back anymore and just wait for people to join.
Right. And I think that it's going to take a lot of deal making, if you will, in order to, one of the things that in the ending of my term in meeting with my state reps, I was pushing for free community college for volunteers.
Yeah.
You're gonna need perks like that to bring people back into the door. And unfortunately, I don't think the rest of the the rest of the state, the rest of the public understand that on how bad we're hurting, how much it, I'm sure, like us in Derby, the amount of times you go out on a call and when the person finds out that you're volunteers, they almost can't believe it.
Oh yeah, we get that all the time.
Right. I mean, that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people, they take it for granted. They can't fathom the fact that that these towns, Trumbull borders Bridgeport, right? And what do you mean you guys are volunteers? But you do look out with that Bridgeport pool, because we've actually even up in Derby, we've got a few members, and I hate to say it, but I feel like that's like a little bit of a secret stash, right? We get members that come up from paid towns.
Okay.
Right? Like you said, like you'll get guys from Bridgeport. We get kids coming to us from Milford or from West Haven, places that they have, paid departments, and you kind of get that bleed over it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what are you guys doing? Like, give me a little bit more about what you guys are doing to bring people in the door.
So I think the live-in program for us was a big move, and again, that was with full support of our commissioners when they designed a new building. They designed live-in quarters or bunk rooms with a specific hallway design for folks living in there, and we pitched to them a live-in program. Our sister department, Trumbull Center, had been doing it for years, and we're not going to reinvent the wheel, so we took their program and put our name on it, and we kicked it off. We started partnering with University of New Haven, and right off the rip, we did great. We brought in a bunch of people. And for whatever reason, now we're seeing a decline in it. I mean, I know Trumbull Center has, I think, 1 or 2 folks left living there, but even talking with the folks up at UNH, we're not getting the desire that we used to have. And you would think from a school like that people would be beating down the door to live at our firehouse. It's practically brand new, 5 or 6 years old. We run an engine and a truck out of there. The truck is a brand new Seagrave. So I mean, the calls are there. We're running a lot of calls. I mean, we run 750 calls a year for our department. We don't run any medical. So it's busy for a volunteer department, but for whatever reason, there's just been a little bit of decline. And even the folks at UNH have said the same thing. They used to push it and get a lot of interest, and now they're not. So it's like constantly going back and trying to get creative in how you can bring more folks in the firehouse.
Right. We don't have the UNH, like the live-in program to that level, but we've taken a lot of UNH kids in Derby. Like they're a great asset. The only problem is you got them for 3, maybe 4 years tops.
Correct.
But I would wholeheartedly agree with you. From the numbers we saw of the UNH kids 5, 6, 7 years ago, versus what we're seeing now, there definitely was a drop off on that.
And it's surprising to me because when I was up there, I mean, I only went to UH for a year out of high school, but if there was that kind of program back when I was there, I would have loved it. I mean, I know they had always had
Right.
Allentown, but it wasn't as popular back then. But man, to live in a firehouse during my college years, I would have loved it, especially right around here.
Absolutely. And now, so you guys operate 3 stations. How many apparatus do you have?
So we have 6. We have a rescue, a truck, a squad, and then 2 engines, and then we have a mini pumper.
And did you guys have a lot of brush incidents over the past couple of weeks?
We have not. We got very lucky. We had one incident where we had a leaf pile burn up, a pretty large leaf pile where the town dumped all the leaves they picked up. But other than that, we have been very fortunate.
Wow, lucky you on that one. That's
I know. And tomorrow, if something happens, my chief's going to be chasing me down.
Right. It's always, but it's you know what though, it's crazy because for those of you listening, we had our first, rain really in the past couple of days. We had like a day and a half of rain. Some parts of Connecticut had snow, and one of the questions I was getting is, "Oh, are you gonna like lift the burn ban? Are you gonna?" But the minute the rain stopped, the fire danger went right back up. The drought is still there, even though we had some rain, and the dry conditions are still there. So it's we need a little bit more. We're not as bad as we were, but I'm glad to hear you guys. You guys came through that one okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So what you guys do, Trumbull? I know you guys do a lot of training. Do you guys train automatically with the other companies, or?
So we try to keep open doors with the other companies. So Long Hill trains on Tuesdays, Trumbull Center on Wednesdays, and Nichols on Thursdays. Right now, we're very fortunate. We have a couple buildings that have been donated to us in Trumbull Center. So we've been working down there. It's pretty much open door policy. If you want to train with the other departments on their nights, you most definitely can go down in there and do that. We've been trying to include those departments with us, and we've also reached out to Monroe to come train with us too, because we do some mutual aid with them right off the rip. So we've been trying to keep them in the mix as well.
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, again, it's just the nature of the beast nowadays. We're mutual aid on everything, and it really does. At this point, with the amount of times that we're running, even Shelton and Sonia, it is becoming a much more common practice to intermingle like this, and it's a good thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you would have told me back in '98 that we would have done this much mutual aid now, I would have never believed you. But I mean, it's the state of the fire service.
Right. I mean, like my thing's always been, we always did mutual aid, right? Like we always did. But you went, to fires, like multiple alarm working fires. I mean, we had a little bit different situation because with the storms and the echoes in downtown Shelton. I mean, from from the upstairs bathroom at the firehouse, you could see the other firehouse. So, I feel like as normal as that was even back in the 90s, for us, it was just because of that unique situation of the 2 firehouses being so close, and then the geography, if you will. But it really is amazing how much you're doing mutual aid, even on smaller, more routine calls now. You're bringing mutual aid in. Like you said, stuff 10, 15 years ago, you would have, balked if I said, "Oh, hey, we had a gas main rupture in the middle of the street and we called 2 towns." They'd be like, "For what?" But you're doing that now, especially during the day.
Oh yeah, especially during the day. Whole different animal.
So Frank, we're at the magical over 20-minute mark. Everyone knows that's my thing.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, wrapping up. Anything else you missed? You want to add?
No, I think we covered everything. I mean, not many people get to do what we do. So, just stay safe out there, always help each other, help people, and just enjoy it,
And thank you. Like you said, when you messaged me, it's an aspect that I haven't thought of. I haven't been interviewing chiefs and lieutenants and line officers, but there's, a volunteer firehouse is made up of a lot of different people. And, there's a spot for almost everyone. So
yeah, definitely.
So thank you very much for your time. We'll definitely want to hear from you soon in a couple more months. Reach back out and jump back out with me.
Sounds good. Thanks for the opportunity, Chief.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
FD1's back in service. Commands terminated.